So this weekend sees us head to round 3 of the 2025 Formula 1 season at Suzuka, and here is everything you need to watch out for this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix. The Japanese Grand Prix is located in Suzuka, and it is one of the most historic and legendary circuits in Formula 1. Over the years, we have seen many great rivalries come to a head. For example, in 1989, we saw Senna and Prost crash into each other at the final chicane, and then in 1991, it happened again at the start of the race. The circuit also contains some of F1's most iconic corners, the first of these being the S-bends in Sector 1, which always proved to be really tricky for the drivers, and you most likely see the drivers being caught out in this section of the track. Then we've got the two Degner corners, which are both really fast right-handers. Then we've got a corner called Spoon. Yes, there's actually a corner called Spoon. And then we've got the world famous 130R, which has seen over the years Fernando Alonso overtake Michael Schumacher around the outside. Going into the race weekend, Lando Norris leads the championship by 8 points to Max Verstappen. Then we've got George Russell, who's 1 point behind Verstappen on 35. Oscar Piastri follows closely behind on 34. And then we've got Kimi Antonelli on 22 points. Going into the Constructors' Championship, McLaren lead away on 78 points, Mercedes on 57, Red Bull 36, and then we've got Williams and Ferrari both tied in 4th and 5th on 17 points. The main talking point for this weekend's Grand Prix is obviously Yuki Tsunoda going to Red Bull. Now, I made a video last week about Yuki Tsunoda potentially going to Red Bull, and now that it's been confirmed. However, I won't go into too much detail. Go and watch the video I made last week about Yuki Tsunoda going to Red Bull and subscribe to the channel. I have got my concerns about Yuki Tsunoda going to Red Bull. I mean, I think it's almost impossible for anyone to beat Max Verstappen in that Red Bull. And now, that's not a bad thing, because Max Verstappen is one of the best drivers in F1, if not one of the best ever, so it should be challenging to beat him in the Red Bull, obviously. However, people should still be able to come close to him. Like, over the last few seasons, we've seen Sergio Perez be nowhere near Max Verstappen. On average, you'd say he's around 5 to 6 tenths off him in qualifying, and he was nowhere near him in the race. Liam Lawson was another victim of this. He was nowhere near Max Verstappen in qualifying, obviously, as he got knocked out in Q1 quite often. Well, I say quite often, he got knocked out in every single Q1 session, which is why Red Bull have brung in Tsunoda. No Japanese driver has ever won their home race either, and do I think Yuki Tsunoda's going to break that curse? Absolutely not. He'll do well to get top 10 in my opinion. Yuki Tsunoda is a really good driver. However, like I said, I just don't think that Red Bull is suitable for any other driver apart from Max Verstappen. Do I think Yuki Tsunoda could even get a podium in that Red Bull? Look, Yuki's a good driver, but like I said, he's not going to come anywhere near getting a podium because that Red Bull's just too hard to drive for anyone else apart from Max Verstappen. McLaren will be looking to stretch out their advantage in both the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship this weekend, and so far it looks as if McLaren do have the best car. Ferrari also needs to have a good weekend in Suzuka. They have had a very poor start to 2025 and they really do need to start improving. They are sitting on 17 points and it's nowhere near good enough. At the start of the season, I thought Ferrari were going to be up there as the title contender, and I still think they could be, but they need to start turning things around quite quickly. There's clearly potential in that Ferrari car because Lewis Hamilton absolutely dominated a sprint race in China. He showed everyone up with his tyre management and won the race by about 5 seconds, which for a sprint race is actually quite impressive. But for Ferrari now, they need to find a way to translate that sprint race pace into their race pace because their race pace in China was nowhere near good enough. I mean, Hamilton was slower than Leclerc and Leclerc had a broken front wing. So that says quite a lot about that Ferrari car. I feel like if Ferrari have another poor weekend in Japan, then they can already forget about the Constructors' Championship and the Drivers' Championship because they already would have lost so many points and McLaren will already be so far ahead of them. It'd be too big of a gap to catch up. Also, I would keep an eye out for Carlos Sainz this weekend. He's not had the best start to his Williams career so far. He's not really been that close to his teammate Alexander Albon, and he will want to kickstart his season all over again. So here's a quick hot lap of the Suzuka Circuit. This is the only DRS straight and the main straight itself. And now we head down into turn 1, turn in at the 50-meter mark, brake just as you get to the exit, and then I missed the apex there, and then tricky on the throttle there, flat out through here, and there's something wrong with my wheel. This is the S-bends. Terrible hot lap so far. Off the throttle down into 4th, back on the power. This should be flat in qualifying. In the race, probably a quick downshift. Then nice little brake before you head into the first deck nut. Flat out, no, onto the gravel. Oh my god, this is a terrible hot lap, but you get the idea. Through the second deck nut, under the bridge, and then into the hairpin. Heavy braking, down to second, probably get away with that in third. Short shift back up to third, back on the throttle, and then as you come down here, keep waiting and waiting until you get to Spoon. Brake at the 50-meter mark, down to 5th. Oh my god, what a terrible hot lap. Back down to 4th, tricky on the traction through here, and then up, and then now for the run up to 130R, where Alonso went round the outside of Michael Schumacher in 2005. There we go, flat out through there. I don't know why there's a DRS board there, glitch with the game. Break out the 100 metre board. This is where Senna went into Prost. Track invalidated. What a terrible hot. This has been a terrible hot lap. Sorry for you guys, but there is a hot lap off Suzuka. You'll see much better one day in the future, but yeah, not the best of hot laps. Anyway, there's just a quick preview for this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix. I am really looking forward to it. It should be interesting to see if Ferrari can bounce back. It will also be interesting to see what Yuki Tsunoda can do. Let me know down in the comments what you think will happen for this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching as always, and I'll see you all in the next one.